Good evening to everyone who joined now. We are starting the next topic. And yes, is the presentation clear?
Yes, ma'am.
I know this is the slide that we saw in the afternoon session. This is just a thorough recap, a brief recap. We learned about the nature of psychological data and the types of information, that is demographic, physical, physiological, psychological information. And we also saw in what all forms can data come at hand. Then we saw, I just introduced you to the different methods that we are going to learn in the scientific inquiry. And the first one is observation method. Who would I call now? Raina? Raina is present, right? Yes, Raina. In last 1 hour, what all did you observe?
Last one now.
Last 1 hour or maybe last half an hour, what all did you observe?
You mean the last class, ma'am?
Whatever you were doing, wherever you were, what all did you observe?
Um,
Nothing?
I was observing rain.
Rain. Okay. Which class was it?
Huh?
Which class were you attending? The
Huh?
last year?
Last.
Did you have a class? Just
No, no,
no.
no,
Okay.
no, no.
Fine. So you were observing the rain, then
Birds and all.
birds, then
Then nothing else, ma'am.
nothing else. What all did you see?
Yeah. Rain. That when I was just watching my laptop, my
Laptop.
previous classes and all.
Okay. So, what I wanted to tell is seeing and observing is completely different. Hmm? Raina, you might have seen the staircase,
Yeah.
maybe,
Yes, ma'am.
the curtains, the windows, trees,
Yes.
clouds, the sky.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, the
Yeah.
bird's wings.
Hmm.
Yes, and the leaves on the tree.
Yeah.
But you didn't observe them. We
Mm-mm.
select something and we observe them. It is not necessary that we see it and we observe each and everything that is around us. We observe only selected things that we see. I repeat it again, we observe only the selected things that we see. And also when we study attention, we'll see that we will attend to only the things that we are interested in or something that we want to notice. Understood? Sana is again waiting there. What happened? Okay. Amal, Amal is here now. Amal, switch on your video. Amal Kesaji.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
been a long time since we have met.
Ma'am, I was not well.
What happened to you?
Ma'am, fever.
Fever. Are you all right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and some other had an issue. Meghna, how are you now? You had
I'm
migraine,
fine.
right? Okay,
Yes.
and Reina, how are you now?
Fine, ma'am.
All right. Okay, so what were we? Where were we? Yes, observation method. And here, in observation method, what we do is, as the name suggests, again, it is a simple method. We just observe, whatever topic or whatever behavior, whatever variable we are selecting, we just go to the setting where is it available. We just observe it and make a record of it. That is what happens in observation method. And what I was telling is, we don't observe everything that we see. You have to keep that in your mind. We don't observe everything that we see. We'll find reasons why. So coming back to the introduction of observation method, observation is a very powerful method of inquiry. It is an effective method of describing behavior. A scientific observation differs from day-to-day observation in various respects. Okay, and we'll see how this differs, or the scientific observation differs from the day-to-day observation that we do in our day-to-day life. And the first way in which the scientific observation differs from that of a day-to-day observation is like this. Amal, please switch on your video. Okay. The first point is selection. Psychologists do not observe all the behavior that they encounter. Rather, they select a particular behavior for observation. Okay, so here what is said is, as I said before, we do not observe everything at hand. What we do is, we have already selected our topic, and we are planning to collect the data, and we have fixed a particular method, that is observation method for collecting data. So we suppose we want to study animal behavior. The animal behavior, and we go to the natural settings where it is available, and we select the eating behaviors of animals, let it be that, and we don't observe the rest of the behavior. We just observe the behavior when the animal is eating. So if our focus is on a particular topic, then we only observe that particular phenomenon and leave the rest of the things. So in selection, what is said is, psychologists usually select the particular behavior or event to be observed and leave the rest of the behaviors or events. Rather, they select a particular behavior for observation. That is about selection. Then recording. Recording means, while observing, a researcher records the selected behavior using different means, such as marking tallies for already identified behavior whenever they occur, taking notes describing each activity in greater detail using shorthand or symbols, photographs, video recording, etc. So these are the different methods through which we can collect data in observation method. That is the forms through which we can record the information that we get from the observation method. Photographs, they are a very useful method, because we can later on revise the observation report based on these photographs. Similarly, video recording, that can be done. Then we can make short notes, or if the observation process is going very fast, we can write down or draw some symbols and keep, so that we can elaborate on it later. Then tally marks. Tally marks is one form. If one behavior has been made, then we put a tally. Then if a set of 10 behaviors have been made, we put a tally and we mark it like that and keep. We record all the observations or the phenomena, the behaviors that we have observed in these many forms. So this is also a way that day-to-day observations differ from the scientific ones. In day-to-day observations, we don't keep tally marks of how many idlis and dosas we are eating, or how many times we are eating per day, right? But in scientific recording, we do that. And the next way in which scientific recording differs, scientific observation differs from day-to-day observation is analysis of data. After the observations have been made, psychologists analyze whatever they have recorded with a view to derive some meaning out of it. It is important to know that making good observations is a skill. A good observer knows what he or she is looking for, whom he or she wants to observe, when and where the observation needs to be made, in what form the observation will be recorded, and what methods will be used to analyze the observed behavior. So we already selected the behavior or event to be observed. We then recorded all these in the form of photographs or maybe videos, or as observational reports, as tally marks, or as symbols, in whichever way we like, or according to our convenience, or according to the purpose of the study. And then we have kept that aside, but we need to analyze that data. We have to analyze these photographs, the video recordings and all, to understand the particular phenomena behavior. Then only we can interpret it, right? To conduct a research, we observe it, we select the data to be observed, we collect the data or we record the data, and we have got that at hand. What should we do with that? We have to analyze that, and then only we will get a result. And then only we can conclude based on these particular analysis and the result. Okay, so this is another way in which scientific inquiry and day-to-day scientific observation and day-to-day observation are different. So which are the three respects in which scientific and day-to-day observation differs? One is selection, that is psychologists select particular behavior or events. Then recording, which is done through various methods as we discussed. Then third one is analysis of data. These are the three respects in which scientific observation differs from a day-to-day observation. Clear? Okay. Now we are going to see types of observation. The types means we have 4 types, but they are given in pairs. So in terms of whether it happens in a natural setting or artificial setting, it is divided into a particular category. Then in terms of whether the observer or the researcher or the experimenter, let it be researcher, we'll keep it as a researcher. The researcher, if he is participating in the observation, if he is in that group or not. Based on that fact also, we have different types of observations. We'll see them now. Okay, first set is naturalistic versus controlled observation. Note down in your lecture notes. Naturalistic versus controlled observation. Okay. I show a picture. Yes. Can everybody see this picture? Yes, okay. So in this particular setting, in the picture on the left side, we have the researcher observing the monkeys or chimpanzees or whatever it is, observing them in their natural setting in a forest. And in the picture on the right side, we have an artificial setting where certain things are controlled. Yes, this monkey is not allowed to wander in and around as in a forest or as in a natural setting. Okay, so this is the basic thing about naturalistic and controlled observation. When observations are done in a natural or real life settings, it is called naturalistic observation, obviously. In this case, the observer makes no effort to control or manipulate the situation for making an observation. This type of observation is conducted in hospitals, homes, schools, daycare centers, etc. So haven't you heard the patients in ICU, the doctors tell that they are under observation? Have you heard that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So that is basically naturalistic observation. They want to see how this person is improving in health or how the health condition is going through. And in homes, yes, if psychologists want to study how the siblings fight, siblings rivalry, that is the topic of, if that is the topic of study, then psychologists might visit their homes and see how the family structure is, how the siblings get into a fight and all. That happens in a home setting. Then schools regarding children's learning disabilities, how children get very aggressive or how children are very hyperactive in nature. To study all that, psychologists might conduct a naturalistic observation in schools. Then similarly in daycare centers too. So in contrast to this natural setting, we have control observation. Let's see what's control observation. In control observation, we try to control certain factors that determine behavior as they are not the focus of the study. Control laboratory observations are actually obtained in laboratory experiments. So control observations mainly take place in laboratory settings, and we bring these participants or the focus of our study in whomever we are conducting the study in, we bring them to the experimental situations or the laboratory situations or any artificial setting where we can control certain things. And after that we study the psychological phenomena or variables. Okay, that's what happens in control observation. So what you have to notice, naturalistic observation happens in a natural setting and controlled observation happens in mostly in artificial settings, and it would be probably would be laboratory experiments. Okay. Yes. And yes, we saw the picture. Then the next type is non-participant versus participant observation. And I'll show the picture for that too. This is what happens in participant observation and non-participant observation. Participant observation, you can see the researcher, the man or woman or whoever it is, the researcher wearing green is participating in that event, is included in that event. Okay. And in non-participant observation, they are observing from a distance. So in participant observation, this person will be involved in all these activities, and the researcher might or might not reveal his or her own identity at first. In ethics, you will learn that you should not hide the identity completely. Like after the research or after collecting the data, you have to reveal this, that I came here with another identity because of the purpose of the research, and if you have a problem, then I'm not taking this data for the study. You can debrief them. We call it debriefing. Means you have to explain it to them that this was the purpose and that's why I didn't reveal my identity in the beginning. You have to do that. That we learn in the ethics. Leave all that. Okay, so coming back to participant and non-participant observation. Here, participant observation, the person, the researcher gets involved in the activities, while in non-participant observation, the person observes from a distance. Let's see what it is. Yes, when you decide to observe the present or event from a distance, person or event from a distance, it is called non-participant observation. And when the observer becomes a part of the group being observed, then it is called participant observation. I'll give you an example. In a school setting, similar to us, there's a new teacher and there is a set of students, new students. And the management, one of the members of the board wants to see how the classes are going on. And this person might come and sit in the class and just like a student come and attend the class. And that is included in the participant observation, because the person who is observing is a part of that process happening there. While I teach, the person sits as a student and evaluate or observe how the class is being taken. That is a form of participant observation. Now, if consider this another example, another situation of the same example where the class that I'm taking is being recorded, just like our class. If it is recorded and the same board member wants to watch it 2 days after, so he or she is watching from a distance. He is not participating in this activity. So that becomes a non-participant observation. Understood? Okay. Now, yeah, one disadvantage given for this participant observation or non-participant, non-participant observation or participant observation is the fact that an outsider comes into this particular setting can sometimes influence the behavior of the participants. If they know that somebody else is observing them for some purpose, then sometimes their behavior might change. That's why I told you before, some researchers disguise themselves. They hide their identities initially, and then after the research, after collecting the data, they reveal that I came here for a research. I wanted to know such and such information. Understood? Yes, yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So those were the types of observation. That is, first one was naturalistic and control observation, and the second type was based on the participation. That is, participant versus non-participant observation. Now we have the advantages and disadvantages. Here, in advantages and disadvantages, please note, because please note in your lecture notes, I have also included some of them which are not given in your textbook, so that even if I give 4, you can write you can remember and write at least 2 or 3. So the first advantage is this method may enable the researcher to study the participants in a natural setting. We are discussing the advantages and disadvantages of the observation method as a whole here. Okay. So it enables the enables the researcher to study the participant in a natural setting, and we can observe how they behave naturally. Suppose I am telling that I'm going to observe you for half an hour, and another situation, I am just observing you without telling you that I am going to observe you. So two situations make so much difference, right? The second situation might bring in so much artificial behaviors in your usual behavior. So in a natural setting, the observation method can be done very easily. That is one advantage. Then it is a very simple method, not like the experiments. We just if in experiments and surveys and all, we have to prepare a lot prior to the data collection or applying the method of experimentation or doing a survey and all. But in observation method, you can go to the place where the observation is supposed to take place, and you can do it in a very simple manner. Then problem of depending on respondents is reduced. Just now I told about the survey method and all, and in that we give the questionnaires or we give the booklets to them to answer, but we can't guarantee if they will respond or not. If the questionnaires are very lengthy or if they are very boring, then probably we would get, if we are giving 10 questionnaires, we would get only 5 complete ones. There are chances that we get it like that. And even we have seen while doing researches for UG as well as for PG courses, we have seen so many people have just marked randomly or just left so many questions in between, or some of them haven't given their personal data. All such things happens in other methods, but in observation method we can observe it. We are not dependent on the response of the participants. We can just observe and take notes or record the behavior or events as and when we want. So problem of depending on such respondents is reduced. Respondents means the people who respond to our questions and all. So that is an advantage. Then for some problems, only this method can be applied. There are several concepts or behaviors in psychology for which only observation methods are applicable. So for them, we use only this particular method. These are the 4 advantages. So what were they? First one was about the natural setting. Then it is a very simple method. Then there is less dependence on the respondents. Then it can be applied to certain behaviors or certain events for which only observation method can be applied. They are the advantages. Understood? Any doubt? No. Okay. Then disadvantages. Yeah, the first one is it is very much labor intensive. Note down in your lecture notes. It is very much labor intensive. Labor intensive means the researcher, from the part of the researcher or the observer, we have to do a lot of work. That is, if you're observing the children, if you're suppose you are doing a participant observation and you are among a group of teenagers, and you're trying to study the playing behavior while they play football. So you would be forced to play football along with them in order to study that. So that is very tiring, or that is very labor intensive for this particular researcher or the person who studies this phenomena. So in comparison to rest of the methods that we use, this is very labor intensive, and it is very time consuming also. Similarly, just the example that we saw now regarding football or regarding any other sport, if we are trying to study that, then we have to wait until this particular period of play gets over, right? So it's very time consuming. In various other factors, like when we study the tribal people, when we do studies in tribal people, there are different traditional values, customs and all that they follow. So if we are doing participant observation or non-participant observation, it takes a lot of time to build a rapport between them. Rapport means we get to know each other. First, we have to get to know each other, and we have to understand, or we have to mingle with them, and then they should have a confidence in us that we won't hurt them or not, and then only we can start clearly observing them. So it is very time consuming. Then it is susceptible to observers bias. Bias means errors influenced by our values and beliefs about the person or the event. So the observer is also a human being. He or she also has his own values, beliefs, the cultural things that he has grown up in, and several other psychological process going inside his or her emotions and mood at that particular moment of observation. All these factors might influence the recording that we do. For example, I'm an observer, okay, and I'm observing through the videos that I am seeing right now, and I told something very pleasant, and I find that Elvina is not smiling. Usually she used to smile, but today I don't know why she didn't smile. And I'm recording, I'm writing in my observation record that Elvina was sad, but that is very wrong. I just should I am just supposed to write what I observed. I didn't observe that Elvina was sad, but what I observed is Elvina did not smile. So I have to write down that Elvina did not smile and not Elvina was sad. Elvina was sad, that particular statement is my judgment based on what I saw or observed, right? Did you understand? So what I'm as a researcher, what I should write, or what I am supposed to write is Elvina did not smile. That is the only thing that I saw and observed, and I didn't observe that she was sad. She might not smile because she might not have heard what I told, or she might be thinking some other things. There might be various other reasons for that. So as an observer, as a researcher, what we have to do is we just should write what we observe, and we should try our maximum not to get biased by our past experiences, by our value system, by our belief system and all. We just observe it. We just record it as such. We don't judge it at hand. Hmm? So that is one of the disadvantages because it is influenced by our values. Our values means the researchers' values and beliefs about the person or the event. Then the last disadvantage is problems of the past cannot be studied using observation. So the example that I told about the football match, I can observe the football match that is happening right now. But I don't know how these players played last month. I can't observe that, right? So the events that has taken place in the past cannot be observed now. That is one of the disadvantage of observation method. Understood? Yes, okay. So what are the disadvantages? One, it is very labor intensive. That is, it takes so much of work or the output from the part of the researcher. Then it is very time consuming. Then we have the bias regarding the judgment or the belief system or the value system of the researcher. Then that is, the bias can influence or affect the total data that we get or how we interpret it. That is a problem. Then problems of the past cannot be studied using observation. These are the disadvantages of observation method. Have you all noted down the disadvantages? Because I have also included some which are not in the textbook. Krishma, your video is not on. Okay. Yes. So the last statement about observation method in your textbook is the observer should record the behavior as it happens and should not interpret the behavior at the time of the observation itself. I told an example about Elvina, right? So that's the basic thing that they end with the observation method. What the observer is supposed to do is just write down or record what he or she observes during that particular moment. And he or she cannot or should not judge or make interpretations or try to understand what is happening at that particular moment. For that, we have the analysis part. During the observation, we just observe and we record the data. And afterwards, we analyze it based on different processes and principles and also the theories that we have learned in psychology. Understood? Clear? Yes. So what all did we learn today? We learned about, okay, you tell me, what all did we learn today? Who is going to tell? Meghna?
We learn the nature of psychological data.
Yes.
In the demographic data, physical information,
Yes.
psychological data,
Yes.
and physiological information.
Yes.
And the data can be in various forms.
Yes.
There are some important methods in psychology.
Hmm.
In that observation,
Hmm.
and in that observation we have two types, the selection and recording.
Yes.
And third, we have analysis of data.
Hmm.
And we studied the types of observation,
Okay.
naturalistic or controlled observation,
Hmm. Then
participant versus non-participant
participant
observation.
Yes.
And we have the advantage and disadvantage of the observation.
Okay. And the three things that we learned regarding observation, the selecting, the recording, and analyzing the data. Those three are the three respects or aspects in which the scientific form of observation differs from the day-to-day observations that we do in our daily lives. Understood? So that is all about observation, and tomorrow we'll be learning about another method, experimental method. Okay. So shall we wind up then? Amal, are you able to follow the class? You have been missing the classes so much. Amal Kesa ji. Unmute.
Hello. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have you been watching the videos?
No, ma'am.
Why?
That.
Okay, try watching it. Okay, otherwise there'll be a lot of workload. We have exams coming in October. Okay, I'm happy that you're honest about this. Okay, anyways, we'll wind up. We'll see tomorrow. Okay, then. Thank you.
Thank you.